Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to What Do You Say Anime. I am your host, Peter. On today's episode, along with my lovely co-hosts, Pat and Rifle, we will be discussing the newly released Wit Studio movie, streaming exclusively in the West on your favorite pirate site and Netflix, Bubble. Gentlemen, we bear witness to Wit Studio's first film in almost 3 years, and coming off the helms of a monster 2021 year with Vivi and Ranking of Kings, and currently airing Spy Family, Bubble comes to us as a stacked crew with Attack on Titan seasons 1 through 3 director Tetsuro Araki, writer Gen Urobuchi, whose prior works include Fate Zero, Madoka Magica, and Psychopaths, character design coming from Death Note creator Takahashi Obata, and musical director Hiroyuki Sawano, who is most famous for Attack on Titan seasons 1 through 3, Kill la Kill, and The Seven Deadly Sins. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. How are we doing this fine evening?
I'm good. I'm good. I figured it out. I'm good. We're life is just a spiral and a lot of things going on, but we make it work sometimes. Sometimes we have to schedule things and they don't go on time on my bet and that's on me this time around, but life is a highway,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's a spiral.
I was 45 minutes like the last episode, so no worries. Rifle, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. It was great seeing this movie with everyone in this party.
Yeah, we had I personally had a good time, and we're going to be discussing a lot of the different themes and elements and what we liked and what we didn't like about the movie Bubble. But gentlemen, first, kind of like always, I want to give you like I want to get like your first impressions. Usually we do like what we knew coming into it, our expectations, and then what you thought in of Bubble itself, like when the movie started. So, gentlemen, your thoughts?
Yeah, going into it, it flew under my radar until we really started talking about like doing this episode. Honestly, I didn't really think about it that much, or hear anything about it. But and then when we go through the accolades and like the people connected to it, and you're just like, oh shit, this is a pretty big movie, or it should be a big
Yeah.
movie. Um, First thoughts, I guess. I don't think it'd be fair to the movie if we just judged it off the first 20 minutes because it kind of doesn't suck, but it's pretty mid. It's pretty just very like it's visually stunning and it's intriguing, but it's slow as a snail, man. Like it starts off so slow. I mean, I guess we could all talk about it in the middle of my first impression, but there, like the second line of the movie is literally an exposition dump. It's like it's really bad. Like that first impression was kind of just like, oh God, what did I just get myself into? But I think overall the movie smooths out by the end. So I don't let me scare you away from it. I had a good time throughout it. Yeah, those first my very first impression was not fantastic beyond the production value behind the movie because that was beautiful. What about you, Rifle?
Yeah, I only was ever anticipated for this movie because it had Wit Studio name behind it. Everyone plastered, like what Pete said, these high names to all these production, and I just didn't really know too much about them. I was more focused on the action I know that Wit usually provided. And during this entire movie, I think Wit delivered on that portion of the action.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think what Wit did in terms of the technical ability of the movie hit everywhere. It was in other aspects where I feel that they were lacking. And Pat, you brought it up. The beginning exposition scene, just them dumping on, hey, I'm new here. How does this game work? Because they're involved in this 5-on-5 like relay slash sometimes like a death match, it seemed like at some points, where they kind of wanted to establish the rules of the game that they were playing and kind of at the same time create like the world building aspect through the visual storytelling. But just that opening dialogue to me put a damper on kind of like what I was expecting, because I had such high hopes coming into this movie, and then just like when you see what Wit Studio has done lately and just the writing, that the stories that they have been telling, especially between, I think we've all seen like Madoka and we all enjoyed it. Fate Zero, we all enjoyed it. Like I kind of had like if anything, the writing was going to be great, and I think that's where it fell flat the most. And yeah, I guess I know that was, to me, that's like what started like my initial thoughts on the story itself, and then it did get better. It did. I think when we get towards the end of it, we will come to terms with the story itself. But I felt like your first impressions is huge. Like, you need the beginning to be one of the highlights, and the ending to be the highlights. And to me, it kind of just like fell flat. But if you don't really care about the story, I think you could get like immersed in the world. Did you guys have like any thoughts like going through your mind when that happened, or did it like blow over your head?
Um, well, just to circle back to your point about that opening scene, I think the worst part about it was the fact that they do it well. They start off with like decent exposition where you're watching the thing and you're starting to put the pieces together of what's going on. And then they do the line where it's just like a horrible exposition dump that also didn't feel really necessary because the rules don't matter that much in the game other than you grab the flag and you win, which they could have easily shown by having a team grab the flag and win. So, because they break the rules or, make up rules with like rocket shoes at some point throughout the movie too. So it's just like, why did they I mean, I guess they felt the need to put the scene in for dumb American audiences to figure it out or something. I don't know. But like it's just it was just frustrating because like you said, you expect the quality to be better when you have these names attached. You expect to not be so caught off guard by that. But yeah, so your next question was about the general storytelling, right, of the film, or
Yeah,
the
I guess like I guess to me, when something like that happens, I guess like it like kind of like kills the mood a little bit.
oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think we might actually, Rifle. I don't know your thoughts exactly, but I know as the story progressed, it was never that low. Like, that is the bottom of its writing and storytelling. I guess, yeah, like your general thoughts on like how you felt throughout like the story, I guess, from like the bottom to the top in a ways.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't have really much of an issue. I think it probably was because I had a lack of sleep as I was watching it early in the morning. But it was just a line. I mean, I get some people don't like the exposition dumps, how they're handled like that. I didn't really care. It happened. Uh, the story itself, I think, it can be brought down to a typical story about you know their correlation with the Little Mermaid.
Yes.
I found it to be all right. I liked it. Some people may not like how it was used. I thought it was used fine.
Yeah, I guess in terms of the Pat, I'll pass it to you in a second. Like the exposition dump, because Makoto is sort of explaining what's happening, like with her when she's like viewing it in like her binoculars, and then showing us through visual storytelling that we could understand perfectly fine. I just don't understand like why they didn't do that, like that style of storytelling in the beginning. And there are some parts throughout the movies as well that they kind of did that, where they kind of just like told you, the little kid Uzaki kind of did that, where he like kind of like mentions like, I wish I had parents here. Like, I wish I had parents here to tell me this. It's like, we get it. There are no parents around. You don't have to tell us that there aren't parents around. Stuff like that kind of like drove me crazy.
I didn't your parents ever teach you better? We're orphans.
Yeah,
We all are
right?
here. Like I was just like, that line made me grimace too. I was just like, come on, man. Like, we get like, all right, cool, you told us that, but did you need to tell us that? Like, I don't think you needed to. We could kind of just infer that this was a land of low laws, or not, like kind of like martial law,
Yep.
where like these kids are being raised by this figurative, like this father figure and this scientist who's here to study or research or whatever, here to get all the erotic poses that she can get into a single movie,
Hey,
without.
she looked of age, so I was cool with it.
Yeah, it was just funny. The camera, it was very like
There were
Shaft.
there was a
It was
few.
like Shaft. It
Yeah.
was like Shaft camera angles, if that makes any sense, like the studio Shaft.
Yeah, make
Where it
sure
was
her
just
ass
like,
takes up a quarter of this shot real quick. Yeah.
or just, oh, she shifted slightly, let's have her boobs jiggle a little. It's like that's the movie budget kicking in, baby. That's a movie budget. And it was just like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Again, it's not that big a deal, but it was just funny because like I don't know, I noticed those things because I'm a fucking snob or a prick, and I just hate how anime fans are permanently labeled horny freaks because of shit like that.
Boo,
But you
anime
know,
fans.
yeah, boo, yeah, we hate anime around here. What? You're a weeb? You're a fucking weeb?
Weebs
Ew.
out, bro. Weebs out.
Yeah.
That
Get
me
him out of
couldn't be
here.
me. I lift weights, bro.
Yes, there you go. And yeah, I could not be a weeb. You can't. No, 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 no. There's nothing here that's weeby behind me.
Nothing. For the
No.
audio listeners, they definitely could see that. Staying on the topic of storytelling, Rifle kind of brought it up a little bit that this is sort of a retelling of not the Disney version of The Little Mermaid, but more of
No, the real one.
the real story of The Little Mermaid, where it's more of a tragedy than like a happy outcome. Earlier this year we got Belle, which is sort of an anime retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Then this is more of an anime retelling of The Little Mermaid, a little more supernatural, very Weathering with You vibes in terms of not only the weather, but just like the omniscient beings that are being presented in the movie. Rifle, you touched on it. Pat, did you have like any issues with like how that type of storytelling was told in this movie? Because I feel like it can go both ways. I can see like the negatives and the positives.
Yeah, so it's like a Shakespearean tragedy is what the Little Mermaid is essentially a ripoff of too, right? It's a ripoff of Romeo and Juliet. You know, every story that's ever told comes back to Romeo or something Shakespeare is what
Yep.
writers will tell you. But I don't know. I thought it was fine. Like again, I like that they didn't use the Disney version where things work out in the end or whatever. Well, I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler. I don't know, like, but things
If
things
they're
kind of
watching this
worked out.
episode,
Like,
it's
yeah,
a
I would
spoiler.
hope you.
Yeah.
We just didn't do our usual spoiler warning.
Oh
But
yeah, I
either way,
forgot. Yeah.
yeah. Well, spoilers going forward.
Yeah.
Uta dies. No, she doesn't die because nothing dies. Like that was. I liked. I guess that we'll go into themes later on rather than in the storytelling scene. But I really liked how they ended the movie, which is weird because I didn't love the whole movie, but like the ending I was pretty happy with. I was like, all right, I'm content with the narrative that they went with, and they actually stuck the landing to me. I don't know, but like I'm not a huge fairy tale guy. I like it when they're referenced, and I liked when they're used as storytelling themes. That's why I'm a big fan of like Ruby, the animated series. Like I love that because there's a lot of callbacks to historical figures, or that's why I liked Fate a lot, right? Like there's those little tidbits of like knowledge that if you know the little Easter eggs almost, if you know them, then you can enjoy it more. I so I thought this one was fine. It didn't feel as tied together with the rest of the things that were going on though either, because the two main themes of this I would say were the Little Mermaid, right? Like that, or that story of romance or tragedy, whatever you. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it's
tragedy because
both. Yeah.
well, no, but romances are either
Yeah,
tragedies or they're
you're
romances.
right. You're right.
So it is a tragedy technically. But it was that, and then the spiral, the whole idea that nature is permanently spiraling and continuous like sequence, right, where things constantly are changing and bonding and then separating, bonding again, and just in it's a continuous loop, it's a continuous vortex is what they used in the translations here, or spiral or vortex, whatever. um so I think that doesn't really tie with the tragedy of the Little Mermaid as a story. You know, like I didn't feel the connection. At least I don't know how you guys felt
No,
about it.
that's a good
I've
point.
been talking for a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, Rifle, did you have any thoughts on like that style of storytelling with the Little Mermaid and the spirals and stuff like that?
Uh, I found that to be like I said, I enjoyed the themes of it. I've seen people who felt that they overused the storytelling of the Little Mermaid. They felt like the movie was directly feeding it to you and not just
Yeah,
showing you.
that's a good point.
But for me, I wasn't too bothered by it. I quite liked it. It wasn't great, but I wasn't like hurt by it.
I wonder if they did that because more people are familiar with like the Disney version than like the actual story. Um
They
because
hardly changed though. Like other than the ending, the Disney one is relatively the same, right? Like,
yeah,
I,
yeah. For I think like I'm not. It's been a long time since I read the original, but I think there's a little bit more like darker themes in that, where the Disney is kind of happy-go-lucky. I'll put it in terms of that, but you made a good point, Pat, with the combination of that story along with the spiral. Kind of didn't make a lot of sense, other than like the vortex and the water. Maybe like it was really hard to like put those two together. Where I kind of wish it was like one or the other. You made a good point with like Gurren Lagann or like Uzumaki, where that is spiral themed, or The Little Mermaid literally is. I mean, that's a really bad example, but you know that's like a singular storyline. This is kind of like two at the same time, and it kind of was hit and miss. I think there's points where I did enjoy it. There's parts where I thought it fell flat. Uh, that being said, I feel like this is, speaking of another literary author, Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. I felt like this movie was a tale of two parts, where part one, the first half of the movie, a little slower, not really catching my attention, other than like, sure, the animations are great, but I thought like where we were with like characters storytelling was a little lackluster. The second half, I felt definitely picked up, where Uta was a little bit more developed. Hibiki kind of coming out of his shell a little bit more, and that's what.
Shell.
Oh
Oh.
wow, that was an
Oh.
accident,
Oh, wow, Pete. You're at your funniest when you're not trying,
right?
I gotta say.
Damn, I should stop trying.
You were trying before?
I
All
shit.
right, that's I mean, yeah, we're that's a double dunk. There we go. But
Yeah,
either way,
for sure.
sorry, continue.
No, it's just like that's how I personally felt. Pat, I know you mentioned it in chat earlier, and Rifle, I'm not entirely sure your thoughts either, but did you guys kind of get that vibe too, where it was sort of these like two parts of a movie?
For sure. I don't know. Like I said, I had maybe the misfortune of having to take a break while I was watching it too. Like I watched the first like I think 45 minutes, took a break, and then came back to it. And after that first 45 minutes, I was nervous, man. Because especially because of how hyped up this movie had gotten, I was like, I'm bored. I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not that attached. I shouldn't say I was bored because the music was fun. The art was very pretty throughout. Like it was something I could watch and be entertained. But I was not invested at all in the characters. Like I could not care less about them specifically, other than Makoto, which is the girl that we complained about the shots about. She was awesome.
yeah,
But
she was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
could not care less about the other characters. And then by the end of the movie, I feel like I was still in that boat a little bit, where I was like, as she was fading away and they were doing that chase running away scene, I was like, I don't care if she lives or not. I don't care if they're happy to ever after together. Like I didn't feel like the emotional connection to them like I did with, let's say, God, what are their, well, either of the main characters from, or main couples from Your Name or Weathering with You, where I
yep.
felt I wanted them to make it. I wanted them to be together. Like I did not feel that at all with this movie. But I definitely do think the second half of the movie is a lot better in terms of my investment level, where I was curious about what was going to happen, just maybe not as invested in the Little Mermaid, the love story or the tragedy that is happening in front of us. Like I really didn't care. What about you, Rifle?
Yeah. Honestly, I agree. I do think the story and the characters were like the low points of the whole movie itself. I feel like the characters played their role fine, but like you said, like each character wasn't like the side characters didn't really care for. They played their role as being the whole group dynamic of, yeah, they're part of the group, they're the team. The two main characters, I agree, I didn't really have that emotional connection to them, but I still found them to be quite fine. I like this whole dynamic they had of the whole Little Mermaid situation.
Pat, I think you said the best, where it's when you have a story like Weathering with You or Your Name, we're given a lot of time on the main characters to develop. While I did feel like Hibiki was that shy character looking to break out of his shell type of character, it seemed like it took a long time for him to get to that point. And I understand that's like what Yuta was for. Like Yuta is the reason why. I mean, they even say like before you, like I was never the real me. and I get that. It just felt like the pacing was off. It felt like there were sometimes where it was going way too fast, and sometimes in the beginning, way too slow. And I felt like it couldn't get an identity of where it needed to be. Either to me, I think either this movie needed to be like a half an hour longer, or it needed to be like an actual series. To me, it just felt like there were some parts that were just missing. I don't know if any of you guys feel that same way.
Yeah, I could have seen it being better a little bit longer, but I'm in the same boat where Hibiki I didn't feel anything for him at all, really. Like I was like oh he like I well so like the scenes with his mother and him trying to like figure out what was wrong with him or how they can like fix him,
Yes.
not fix him, but like help him be more comfortable or whatever. I thought that was a good like I was starting to feel attached to him. I was like actually like tearing up a little bit because I was like I've seen family members struggle with something similar, right? Like it's hard. It's really really hard to try to fit in when you're abnormal. But then they kind of like, does he get
Throw it
healed
away.
by her?
They kind
Does
of
he
like
get
push it
healed by her?
aside. They kind of like
Yeah,
Yeah.
dismiss
that's the
it.
way I felt. All right, I'm glad I didn't. So I thought it was just me because I was laughing at the movie too much or making fun of it at times too much. But like I was like, did they ever explain like why all of a sudden? Because like at the end of the day, he's more of an adult now, right? Where when you're a kid and something is giving you discomfort, you're gonna make a big deal out of it, like he did, where he'd like crouch down, whatever. But like as an adult, he's found, all right, I have my headphones on, I feel better about myself, um, or I feel better about my comfort. But like he doesn't make a big deal out of it, even when they take it off during the movie. But like,
That's how the movie should have ended. I think like him like taking off the headphones would have been like great symbolism,
oh yeah,
just
that would have been fun. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
showing that like that's the overcome. What about you,
Yeah,
Rifle?
but yeah, it was just like why did that happen? Like where did the sorry, Raphael. Where did he get healed? All like did she heal him? I thought I missed a scene. I was like, did she like heal him or whatever and make him better now? Like, or does he just not care anymore? Because like at the end of the movie, they show him without the headphones on, right? Like I don't
Yep,
think he has them on. So
they're
it's like
gone.
they're gone, right? So yeah, I
Like,
don't know. Sorry, go ahead, Rifle.
yeah, I agree. That was one of my I want to say biffs with the movie, but it was something I noticed. His headphones were used to be symbolized for him connecting with others again, because in the beginning his headphones, he was isolated from everyone. Thanks to him losing them, he becomes more social. But I do agree, where as a kid it shows his issues he has with lots of loud noises, and then when he loses the headphones, it's like, hey, I'm healed. Like it doesn't feel like there's any issue with them
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever. And this is this is a little bit more with the disabilities. This is more for plot inconvenience.
Yeah,
Was the prosthetic guy they had, where I loved him having a person with a prosthetic limb, and he was doing parkour along the tower. Uh, he knocked an steel beam with his prosthetic limb, and then he's used as a launch pad for the main character, and lo and behold, his prosthetic leg breaks.
that was. See, I didn't think that was that big of a deal. Just in
I'm not
terms.
saying, yeah, I'm not saying it was a big deal, but it was just like, wow, it broke after hitting
Oh,
a steel
sure. In
beam.
terms of like the of course
It can
that's what
catch
that yeah.
someone can catch it and dangle from it after whatever. It can kick a steel beam, it can do whatever, but then when it goes to launch a
Yeah,
human being, it breaks. Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty
I get
rough.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like this in other series too, where some of the side characters, when they're better than the main characters, is like a big knockoff for me. The like the captain of the like the Blaze Blue, whatever they're called, Kai. I really liked his character. Kind of like he definitely like resembled like the leader role when like Hibiki's kind of being like a selfish asshole. Kai was always like putting the team first, whether like as long as it like secured them the win, because like, hey, they got a month worth of rice if they win, and that helps out everybody. So like I'm gonna put my pride aside and my ego aside and get the dub. And I really like that about Kai's character. I wish we saw that more about like other characters where like they like showed who they were type of thing. And I feel like we didn't get that with Hibiki until like really late in the movie, and then Uta is not really supposed to be like that, I guess, but that's kind of like how I was feeling with like in terms of the characters. And I think so there are some negatives that we've been talking about. I think we should talk about the positives as well, because I think there's
Sure.
a lot of positives. I know Rifle, me and you have seen Ranking of Kings. Pat, I know you've seen part of Vivi at least, since Wit has done those. And lately, to me, that they've become like a top tier studio. Like when I see Wit attached to something, I'm expecting above and beyond, or not above and beyond, but like, above what I normally expect. And I felt like they absolutely knocked it out of the park, but there were some questionable visuals that I want to get your guys' take on, especially the close-up scenes of the visuals where it was very Vivi-esque, where it was very polished, very clean, very shiny, while the rest of the movie kind of just seemed like a normal high-quality anime production. Did you guys get any, like, did you guys find like those shots like off-putting at all? Because I can definitely see somebody kind of being like questioning that style of like art choice.
Can you like name a scene specifically? Because I'm trying to like think
There's a
about it.
handful. When there's like a close up on which is like a single person in a shot. Uda has one. Hibiki has a few. Actually, Uda has multiple.
Yes, he
Where
does.
it's I don't know if you remember like the art style and Vivi of the close up, but it's like the exact they mimic that style of close up shots, and then when they zoom back out, it looks like like a normal shot in an anime, and it's kind of using two different art styles in the same show. And some people are like, it's like the same thing where like you see like a random like CG shot, and then it's like, oh, that was like random. Like, why did they do that? That kind of is like off-putting for some people. This, while I do think it's like visually stunning, they used it in specifically moments where there are close-ups and like only close-ups. And I was wondering if that was like a turnoff for you, because to me it did seem a little odd.
Yeah, it was. I didn't notice it enough to make me go, "Whoa, what the
Yeah.
hell?" Like, what? That was weird. Um, I do remember a couple times in like the free running scenes specifically. I think the art overall was fantastic though. Like, and the production behind it was really really nice. I overall too, like the sound design was awesome. The music was pretty good, like, or was good at its peaks were really high with the music, I think. But the with the animation specifically, I feel like I noticed in the free running scenes especially that they were just very like some parts looked really clean and then other parts looked a little like I don't know, motion blurry. Not
No, for
actually
sure.
blurry, but like they were meant to emulate motion blur almost, where it was just like I don't know, I don't know.
Did you see Vivi where in the scene where like the tower's collapsing and she's like running in her sports bra? Like have you do you remember that scene at all?
Spoiler, man. Like what the
Yeah.
fuck? No, I'm kidding. I don't know, I've only
Spoiler,
like
Vivi runs in Vivi. Yeah.
yes, I know. It runs down an exploding building, but yes. God, dude, was that like the second episode? Because I
It's
feel
like
like if I
second
hit
or third, yeah.
yeah, then yes, I do. Well, yeah, because there's
Okay.
the building that collapses in the second episode of Vivi. So yeah, that would make sense. I do. Yeah, so I can't picture the scene, but I do remember that scene happening. I know it's just like the blur. It would be like, oh, really detailed, a little bit slow mo as they get close to the camera, and
Hmm.
then the camera would like pan, kind of. I'm kind of again awful for the audio listeners, but like it would like almost like if you're sitting on the ground and a jet flies over you and it like flies really close to the ground and you know when you're watching it you're gonna go whoa and you're gonna look behind you like that's what the camera would do and it just looked goofy, I don't know, it's yeah. Oh, okay, so that scene, okay, yeah. No, yeah, it was different, but I liked it because it was super detailed and it was
Yeah, it
like
was very.
clean. But it did also make the other scenes around it look kind of like, okay, that looks fine. I think the bubbles overall, like, it's fitting for the movie name. The bubbles looked great.
Mhm.
The bubbles were always beautiful in whatever scenes they were in. Um, at least the blue ones. They were the red ones or the evil ones were kind of off for
The
me. I don't
evil
know.
bubbles.
But that's what they were. Well, in
No,
the
for sure
context
they
of this,
were.
in the context of the story, they were the evil bubbles.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, Rifle, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I agree with Pete. When I saw the close-ups, I did get that Vivi-esque look, and I was fine with it because it added emphasis. As you're close to someone, you see more of the details. It reminds me of like in manga panels where much of the art it's like okay, but
That's a good
then
point.
for an intense scene, you want to make it very detailed, make it intense, and that's how I felt for those moments. It was that intense moment they had. I liked it. Animation, uh, for the parkour scenes, I think were just excellent. You can see Wit's staff, thanks to their prior works like Attack on Titan, they know how to do their motion scenes.
Yeah, with like the twisting and stuff, like you could definitely see like that come into play, which I thought was. Pat said there were some scenes that seemed a little not like the others because I felt like there were some scenes that were like stunning, and then I felt that there were some scenes that was like that was it seemed like that was all right, like it was like a transition scene. I was like, why? I don't know. It felt a little off, but I think for the most part, it was definitely hitting. And that's kudos to the director, just showing off like the technical like ability of what not only animators can do, but how you want to put that into your story and have that vision. It is really unique because I think the heavy twisting, I really only see it in Attack on Titan and Vivi and Mob Psycho are the ones that come to my mind that really emphasize the distortion of like the land that they're in. You see it when they're like climbing the tower. There's a lot of distortion with are they looking up? Are they sideways? Are they running up the tower? That type of stuff. I thought they did a really good job of kind of like tricking me into trying to see like where they were in the world. And I think this is I wouldn't say like it's a directorial masterpiece in any way, but this was like fantastic. Like I think the director knocked it out of the park with this movie, and it's one of like my favorite directed movies I've seen in a hot minute. Gentlemen, did you guys have any thoughts on like the direction or anything like that, or should we move on to the next topic?
I think I'm good to move on because, like, to me, a lot of direction is knowing, especially in an animated movie, more so than like an actual movie where you have to shoot scenes with actors or whatever. I feel like directors, to me, should have more impact on the writing and the storytelling. Where I think this movie struggled a lot. So, maybe my complaints are better saved for a different like category or topic.
Gotcha. How about you, Rifle?
Uh,
Any thoughts on this?
I'm pretty good. I think we covered good about.
Okay, sounds good. I think the best part of this movie, and I think I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement with, is that Bubble is really fun. This was a thoroughly enjoyable watch with the scenes that they set up, the games that they were playing, and sort of the world building that they had inside of this sphere. I thought was wonderful. I like that it wasn't set as like a sanctuary where like people couldn't leave and people couldn't come in. It was sort of like this. I think Shin says it where the bubble values its independence, and it's sort of set up as like a free zone, a nomad's land type of thing where there are some like unspoken rules, but really kind of like anything goes because we see that in the game as well. And I thought the world building was super fun along with the games that they played. Gentlemen, like, did you have like thoughts on that aspect of like the entertainment value that was Bubble?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with the games. There were definitely some slower points in the movie that I didn't think were great, but overall, like I enjoyed it. You know, I can't say that I wasn't smiling or laughing or enjoying the movie for more than like or for less than 2 minute intervals. You know, like there was never like a real just 10 minutes where I questioned why I was watching the movie. Like
Sure.
it was great. I would say the um really just the beginning, you know, again, once it got going by the end, you know, the last like 20 minutes of the movie were really strong too. I think and there's payoff too. That's something I preached about in a lot of these reviews that we've done over the past couple of years where when there's not a payoff, when there's not a good ending or a satisfying ending, it's frustrating and like it doesn't have to be satisfying and like oh the hero prevails something something whatever in this case the hero doesn't really prevail, right? Like they don't get it is a tragedy but it's satisfying because it's shown or done in a pretty nice way. So I would say that for me the my enjoyment was like you said through the roof on this movie.
How about you, Rifle?
Yeah, so for me, I had a clear goal in mind when I watched Bubble, and that was to uh, watch it for the action and enjoy it for the art style. And I was not disappointed by that. Uh, I went in. I was glad they had so many parkour scenes. There was probably like 9 or 10 moments, and each time I'm just hyped, just them running around, hopping and whatnot. I like the games they did have. It would be nice to see like a little mini series of those games happen again. I thought they were quite fun. Uh, one of the speaking of unspoken rules was the Undertakers. How they had like water powered boots. I think it kind of added to the fun to it, but I kind of feel like they were just like a throwaway hooligans.
Yeah, I kind of wish that because we kind of see what like one of them looks like at the end, and like you said, they kind of just seemed like insert bad guy A through E or whatever. Where it's just like, oh yeah, these guys look really evil. Wonder what their motivation is. Oh, it's clout. It's like, oh cool, they're gentle criminal
It's
again. It's
money.
like,
Their money
yeah,
is what it was.
they're monetizing their YouTube for um the game that they play. Because I was kind of thinking in my head like, what is somebody going to capitalize on the monetary of this game? Because did any of you guys ever play Final Fantasy X? This is super random.
No.
No,
Rifle?
sadly.
Okay. Because
No.
there's a game sort of where they play in water called Blitzball, and they use it. It ends up being like the biggest sport in the world, and that kind of reminded me of Bubble. I was like, are they still turn? Is like, is this the new like whatever football? Like this 5-on-5 game? Like, is this gonna be like the National Tag League or something like that? And we'll have Joe Buck broadcast the game type of thing, and and then I was like, nobody's like making money off this. And it's like, oh wait, they have like a YouTubes with drones and stuff like that. So I actually thought that was like a nice little touch to it because that was right through my head that
See, I thought
they had this world.
for me, I thought they were gonna play a bigger role. For some people, they may feel like it would have been an overused trope, but like when I was watching, I thought like there was a mysterious sponsor giving them this tag. I thought they were gonna go after Yuta, and it's like, oh nope, they were just regular, self-insert baddies, all that. They were an obstacle for them to overface. I'm like, okay,
They like kidnap Makoto and then they get her back and then like they kind of just like sweep it under the rug. Like I was hoping they like beat the shit out of each other. Like, hey, like she's like part of our family and you kidnapped her. Like if someone's kidnapped my mom, like I would get her back and then like beat the shit out of the person who like kidnapped my mom. And they're just like, nah, it's cool. Like we can't do that here. I don't know. That was kind of weird now that I think about it. That was just like she was just used as like the gimmick to like come get them to play their game for YouTube views, and they like just went along with it type of thing. Like you didn't really need to go play the game. You could just went and saved her and then leave. Like I don't know. It's interesting, but like I don't know if they thought that far because the whole thing was like the setup so they could get another like parkour scene in, which I get. That gets the butts and the seats and that gets my adrenaline pumping. So like it solved that problem. Like it's just like when you think about it a little bit more, like things start coming into your head and it's just like, wait a second, hold on. And now that I
yeah.
think about it, I'm just like, that scene was kind of weird, wasn't it? Like, I don't know. Just coming from like, especially like revenge plots from the person who wrote Fate Zero. Maybe it's like a time constraint or something like that where they could only get so much in the time allocated. Where it's like it's hard to judge them, but then again, it's a movie, and you could probably stretch it out to like an hour 50 minutes. Is that big of a deal? But maybe their budget was only I don't know $20 million, and they couldn't get there that far. So who knows? I thought the movie was super fun. I keep calling it a show. I thought the movie was just a thoroughly enjoyable time. Gentlemen, is there anything else that you want to bring up, talk about that we missed, or should we get into our final thoughts?
I do. I just want to say it would have been nice to do more to figure out where Uda came from. Because I feel like they introduced the sister and it just happened.
Yeah, that's right. Where did she come from? Oh God, sorry. Go continue.
Uh, you can continue. That's basically my.
How
It's
was your
just
okay? Because I was gonna say like, what the fuck? Where did she come? Like, if it's this, so and that's the thing. Like, what is she? We have no idea what she was, or at least again, please tell us in the comments if you know, like because we're missing it. But to me, I was paying a lot of attention to that too because I wanted to see, oh, is her melody that she sings, the song, the ba 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 ba, like that song specifically, that tone, like is that a reference to something? Is that a somehow going to impact the story in some way? Beyond just being like the recognizable, hey, this is Uta doing it thing. Um, I don't know where the sister came from. It was just like, oh, we need someone to be like an antagonist here. uh like was it supposed to be symbolic of like her need to return to um like nature or the cyclical or spiraling nature or whatever, so she's getting sucked in, like I don't know, there was no like explanation for that. It was just like, oh yeah, by the way, she's there, oh, and she can break away too by just like letting her arm melt away or something, like I don't know, it was just goofy, very goofy. um yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
a lot of questions.
yeah, a lot of questions, but like much of them, I just sweep under the rug because I'm just here enjoying myself, watching them run around.
I think so too, and I think that was like kind of what they set out to do, and I do think that they did it. It's just when you compare their other works and you see what they can do in terms of like writing and answering big questions, like it's not out of the realm of possibility that these people are capable of doing this because we've
Was it
seen it.
to me like it almost did not feel like they kind of just wanted to do a free running anime or a movie with like scenes like the free running, and then they wrote a story around that, you know, where they could write, oh yeah, it would make sense that there's this gravitational field in the middle of Tokyo, like oh yeah, they would make, like it almost feels like that was the afterthought rather than the story being the main thing, and then the way the story is told following it up, you know, like I don't know, put the cart before the horse a little bit here,
Yeah,
it feels like.
yeah, I definitely feel that. I definitely see that too. It's hard because if that's the style of movie that they set out to make, then they accomplish that. It's just like I don't know, but it's just like the length. Like I feel like when they were writing it, like they knew that there were questions that are left unanswered, and they just like kind of just like, well, it's an hour and 40 minutes. We can kind of make do with like what we have, and it'll be fine. I don't think they were setting out to write a masterpiece. I don't so because like the cast that they put together are like episodic storytellers in terms of like directing and writing and that type of stuff, and I don't know if they're just more accustomed to that style where it's one long shoot. It would just be like going from like I don't know, like a CBS TV director to directing a motion picture. It's probably a little different in how you do it, and you're more accustomed to one or the other. So that's kind of like how I get the vibe. But like, it's not like too bad where like it ruined the movie. It's just knowing what we have as like a stacked cast. It's just like, oh, what was that movie on Netflix? The Irishman, where it was like Martin Scorsese, Robert De
Yes.
Niro. Like you see these actors and like you've seen their work, like Martin Scorsese, The Departed, like masterpiece, a masterpiece of a movie, and then you have like this Netflix budget, and then you watch it, and it's just like that was a 7, like whatever, like that's kind of how I felt with Bubble. Just like on paper, it's like you think that this would be like a home run, and it was like a bunt single or something. Like you got on base, but you did. It wasn't like any of your prior work. So I'm rambling a
Yeah.
little bit, but that's
No, I like the way you hyped this up, I'll be honest, made me think I was gonna have to come in and bring you back down to earth
yeah.
after watching. Like as I was watching it, I was like, "Oh man, Pete was really hyping this up. He might just like it because he likes it." And I'm glad to hear that I'm not having to like be too much the voice of reason, because I feel like we agree on most of the things, and I'm glad to hear that too, because it's just like I going in, you hyped it up, and I was just like, "Oh shit,
I
I need
have
to be
myself
ready to
up.
be." Yeah, I
I
need
set
to.
myself up for disaster.
You gaslit yourself, Pete.
Oh,
That's
jeez.
awful. Oh man,
Just the worst.
the burner came out, and you were just on fire. But yeah, no, it's just weird. It's too bad. It really is too bad because it was. I had fun when it was fun. It was really really high. But it was not that fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just very like, all right, this is fine. Like this is fine, good enough to watch. When you would hope that it would be something a lot better with
Yes. It's
the people attached to it.
in anime terms, it's like when like a Doga Kobo show gets an 8, and you're like, that was great. I gave it an 8. And then when you watch like a Kyoto Annie show and you give that an 8, like a Kyoto Annie 8 is kind of bad. Like, or I should say bad, but like not what you were expecting. And that's kind of like the vibe I got with Bubble. Like, I got Kyoto Annie 8'd. I didn't want that, but
You got a girl who leapt through time rather than your named or something. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah, that is a great comparison. Should we jump into final thoughts and our rating?
I think so.
All right, me and Pat, we talked a lot. Rifle, how about you start things off with us with your final thoughts and your rating overall?
Uh, so yeah, for me, music is subjective, and so for me, I thought the soundtrack was just great overall. I had a blast listening to it. I thought Wit they they put all their all in the animation and the action moments, and I loved it. I do agree. Like I said, the characters themselves and the story were not what people would think for the amount of talent that was in this movie. But for me, I had no issues with it. I thought they were fine with what was presented. I enjoyed the themes they had, such as just the destruction and restoration. I found that to be all right. The spiral, pretty cool concept. So for me, even though I wouldn't really recommend it too much to others, I enjoyed it quite a lot, even though some parts were a bit forgettable. For me, I give this 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Awesome. All right, Pat, to you.
Yeah, so as much as we dunked on the movie, it felt like throughout, like, or we were like giving a lot of caveats to our enjoyment of it. I still think I could recommend this to most people. Like it's not a huge time sink either. It's only an hour and 45 minutes. Compared to most movies nowadays, it's pretty good.
Yep.
Like it's I had a good time. I think in theaters too, this would have been a lot better. Just because
100%.
so like the sound design, and granted, like I've got pretty good headphones and everything too, so it wasn't like that bad. But the music was at its peaks were great during a couple of the parkour scenes. It was really really good, and just throughout the popping of the melodies of the like again that Uta's melody or whatever like being played throughout. Like I feel like in a movie theater with the ambiance and maybe a bit better surround sound, that would have been like really cool. So it's almost too bad that this got bought by Netflix, like rather than being allowed to release in theaters. Because like again, would I see this again in theaters? Probably. Would I watch this again on Netflix? Probably not. Like because it's not it's not enough for me. But I have to say because anime sucks at this. Anime in general, they are so bad at this. This thing sticks to landing. It actually delivers like a satisfying ending or at least satisfying enough where not every a question is answered, but enough of them are that it feels like a complete story and it feels like you can kind of put together the rest of the pieces yourself. So for me, I am sitting at a 7 out of 10. I think rating it any direction higher or lower by 1 to 2 points is also reasonable. But for me, I think it's a solid 7 where like the production carries this a lot. I think the story just isn't there. And again, I would love to hear about some Easter eggs too. Like again, what if Uta's melody is like a something that's referenced in other like the specific notes are referenced in specific other stories or um I don't know mediums or music theory or anything. I don't know enough about it to know off the top of my head, but if someone else does know that, please let us know because I would love to hear about that. But yeah, so 7 out of 10. And Pete, what is that bring your score to. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, my real qualms with it was like the storytelling of the entire movie itself. If I was giving like the story itself a rating, it'd probably be like a 5. That being said, almost everything else is like an 8 or above. The technical stuff, like the sound design, thought was just absolutely incredible. The animations, their use of traditional anime like visuals, along with like the close-ups similar to Vivi. Also, the 3G that they used was really well done. Like the tower collapsing was really well done. The boat running into the collapsed building towards the end was really well done in CG. I thought that stood out to me. It was very Neon Genesis 3.0 1.0-esque, where that CG just knocks it out of the park. And I think they did that as well. With the story and the characters kind of being lackluster, and the production quality being so high, it kind of puts me in that 7 to 8 range, where it was good, not great. It was fun, but like missing parts where I feel like it should have been answered. Pat, you said before where like there were questions left unanswered, but the landing was stuck, and I think that's what like set it above a 7 for me, which I'm leaning towards an 8. That they executed what they wanted to do. They did it. There were some misses, but I think for the most part, very enjoyable, a very technical sound movie, and I had a really good time. And similar to like my Promare review, where I saw that on like one of those like 4D big giant movie screens where like the sound was like in my brain, where I thought that was just so overwhelming in a good way that I raised my score. If I saw this in a theater similar to it, I think I'd probably like lean on like a 9, where like I could push some of the sound, or sorry, some of the story and characters to the side and just be so entranced with my viewing experience that it raises the bar. But instead I watched it in my living room and I still had a really good time. I was really comfy, but that kind of like, I don't know, I should say like hindered it. I think it gave me like a true experience of like what the movie actually is. And so yeah, I'm leaning an 8. So we got 7, 8, 9. Averages out to an 8. I think 8 is a very Mal right now at the time of recording is at 7.5. So like we're pretty close to like what we think it's going to end up being. I'm guessing it's probably gonna be like the 7.5, 8 range. And yeah, I think we all kind of agree where it landed and what we liked about it. And we kind of like different viewpoints of Rifle leaning on more towards the fun and adventurous side, and he got that and leaned it towards a 9. And Pat missing some of the things that he was looking for in a movie and giving it a 7. And I met in the middle and gave it an 8. And I think that's kind of where I'm thinking where it's going to end up.
You know what? That's because Pete is mid. There you go.
Wow, that's rude. Nothing about me is mid.
You're the mid lord, aren't you? You're the mid king. That's what it is. The mid king. Sorry.
I've never missed. I never miss once. I always hit. I'm James Harden from 3-pointer. Not this season or last season, but like 4 seasons ago. Yeah, so basketball fans will get that reference.
You should have like said Steph Curry, and then you wouldn't have.
I should have.
You know.
I think
the greatest shooter of all time. I hate basketball, and I even know that. Like, I
think Philadelphia is playing tonight or something like that. So it's on my head. That being said, we're not talking basketball. We talked bubble. We had a good time, gentlemen. I want to thank you for joining me. If you liked what you heard, if whatever platform you're listening to us on, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review. It's the best way to support the podcast. If you want to come tell me to my face how bad my opinions are, you can join our Discord. Yeah, you can call me mid in our Discord, and I won't ban you as long as that's not the only thing you say. Links to that.
If you are banned, I will unban you.
Okay, Pat's a mod. Yeah. He can unban you. I'll ban you. Pat can unban you. We can have a good time. Yeah, links to that in the description below. If this is your first time listening to us, we are a weekly podcast. That being said, this was like a bonus episode. Gentlemen, thank you. We'll see everybody on, well, I don't know about everybody, but Monday we'll be doing Aria. I'm really looking forward to that. So thanks a lot, and we will see you next time.
Bye.